Sensei Claycomb, should I just call you that, or do you want me to call you by another name?
You can call me Joseph, if
Joseph? Okay.
that's what my friends call me, right?
Okay.
By first name basis. But, Sensei is what my title is technically, right?
Cool.
But I don't care to, you know, call me Shihan. That just means chief instructor. If you call me Sensei, it just means instructor.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Joseph is cool. So,
Cool. Cool. So Joseph, and how long have you had Claycomb Karate?
well, I have had a few dojos. So, in the United States was not my first dojo. My first dojo was overseas in Bahrain, which is the country I grew up in. It's a small island near Dubai. And so my first like dojo, if you want to, or I guess club, was in Bahrain at the British school. It's a private school that had a gymnasium, which was basically hard linoleum floor, cement basically with tile on it. No padding, no mats. When we did push-ups, knuckle push-ups on cement, that's kind of where I started. And then when I came back to the States, which is where I'm born, um, I started teaching at my sensei's dojo. And when he closed down, I didn't really have anywhere to go or teach, and so I saved my money as I was working at the time, and I opened my first dojo in America called Academy of Karate in Duarte, California, where is the City of Hope area. And from there, just ever since, and that was in 2001. So I started teaching with my sensei, teaching cardio kickboxing, started teaching karate classes for kids and adults, building his dojo. That was in 97. So I had some teaching experience as a business before I opened my dojo. And so 2001 was the official, like, okay, official dojo, opening. And here it is, 2024. We call ourselves Claycomb Karate Academy or Claycomb Academy of Martial Arts, to get it more personalized. And so now we're in Fontana.
So, from my understanding, you guys are mostly Shotokan Karate, right?
Yeah, so I try not to I don't like the labels necessarily. I mean, there's a saying from Funakoshi Sensei that says there's no style in karate. Karate is all inclusive. However, Shoto was his nickname. Kan means house. So where do you go train? Oh, I train at Shoto's house, Shotokan. So that's kind of where the label came from, right? But so yes, we are Shotokan predominantly like as our foundation. My sensei, rest in peace, his name is Toshiatsu Sasaki. And I was his technical director for the United States. Um, he had about 30 countries under him. And, that's kind of, what I've been doing uh, since, 2001, 2002, I've been with him. And recently, my buddy Bruce Fujati, who's the Japan Karate Maryushikai organization chief in the United States. I'm the technical advisor, so we kind of co-represented. Um, we recently found out about 6 months ago he had passed away, and uh, but I keep his banner up there. We're Shotokan, but I do other things too. I've trained in Shitoryu, Gojuryu. I'm ranked in weapons as well, so bo, tunfa, which are traditional weapons, Okinawan weapons. So I'm very diverse in karate itself. And but when people ask, I just say Shotokan. But the Shotokan people sometimes say, well, you teach things like kickboxing and guard up, and that's not Shotokan. I said, okay, well, it's not. It's Claycomb karate. So you can't please everybody, but yes, generally speaking, it's Shotokan. That's
Mm-hmm.
the base. And we have our own flavor and our own principles that I've added that I feel are important to focus on. And my goal is always to spread karate and to popularize it because it's not as popular as it used to be. And there's a lot of McDojos and fake martial arts out there that call themselves karate, karate. And I like to represent real karate. And then, of course, Michael, we try to have him represent karate in the ring. So, and that's what we're doing now.
And tell me about Michael. When did you start training him? When did he start getting interested in karate?
Um, well, since it was my passion, right? I started teaching him when he was about, I want to say when he was a toddler, I started messing around with him, just like getting him to, get the idea of kicking, punching. But officially, he started training around almost 4 years old, and he's almost 24 now. He'll be 24 in August. So 20 years, uh, full-time training for the most part. If you consider full-time training, 4 or 5 days a week, class every day, plus, additional classes and training and assistant instructing as well as he got older. So 20 years, he's almost at 20 years right now, or actually, a little bit before four. So a little bit before 24. Yeah, 20 years. So he started, and it's a lifetime of training for him.
And when you guys decided to start competing, was it one of those natural transitions since he was already competing in karate tournaments, or was it something that you guys really had to sit down and really talk about?
That's a good question. Honestly, we never thought of competing in full contact until I started making a transition. So when he was younger, he did dozens of local and regional karate tournaments. I've taken people to national level and regional level tournaments, as far as going to the US Open karate tournament. I used to be an official, a WKF referee as well, which is the World Karate Federation. But I didn't like the direction. I don't like the direction that point karate went. So when Michael was a child, I got him into the tournaments because that's what we do, right? We all go to the tournaments. We represent our sport. Um, but I didn't really have the intention of going where we are now. It didn't seem important to me because to me, it's kind of ludicrous to say this martial art's effective and that one's not. It just seems silly to me. But with MMA and the culture that I really don't like that comes with it, started bringing that comparisons to each other more. And so as Michael was about 12, 13 years old, I had started, uh, you know, adding more ideas to our training. He was still young. I'm very, very, very good friends with Shinzo Michida and Lyoto Michida. I represented them actually and helped them in the very beginnings of the Michida Karate Association. So I'm a big part. I'm kind of one of those guys that, they felt my ideas met and matched their ideas. So, and, the rest is history. I mean, uh, we started doing a little bit more contact-based training, started doing a little bit more pad work, heavy bag, that kind of stuff, maybe 15, 16 years ago. And that was just natural. It wasn't really a transition. It's like, okay, well, you apply it by yourself, you apply it on a pad, you apply it on a person. So it's not really a transition. I want to say it's more like, okay, well, here's a different rule set. Let's adapt to those rules. And you know, we'll go from there, So with all the experience that he had in point karate, which started going in a direction I didn't really approve of or enjoy, we started not doing those tournaments, not going to those competitions, and focusing on the practical approach to a little bit more combative side, right? And I started using ideas from kata to implement into the fight techniques. And when people actually study martial arts, they study the whole thing. So Michael started following my lead, and we've trained with people such as Kathy Long. We've trained with Lyoto Michida and Shinzo Michida, a few other people. So um, and so we're connected in the fight game now as he's gotten older. And at some point, he decided, I want to do this. And it was either school or fighting. and he tried school, and he really said, I really want to try fighting. And I said, well, you better do it when you're young. But if we're going to do this, I'll be making the calls and we're going to do it right. We're not going to just, you're just going to go fight. A lot of people just go fight and they're not really guided. And that's kind of how it started. There's a whole story behind that, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it started. He wanted to do this. It was not my idea. Believe, a lot of people think I was the one. And it's like, no, I just was the one to ensure he's going to have a good path. So,
And did you guys discover Fighters Rep, or did they reach out to you? How did that relationship come about?
well, at first, prior to the pandemic, Michael was training for MMA. So what people don't know is we were at Black House MMA. Um, we were invited, so we were training at first. Michael was training uh, with me, and then started doing some sparring sessions with some other places. So uh, Strength and Honor MMA, that's a friend of mine, Jeff Rader. He had a sparring class near my dojo, and so Michael would go over there and test the water, see how he likes it. And in that process, we had also already been training alongside Chinzo, in his classes. And for me, I was, trying to stay in shape too. So martial arts is about maintenance, right? You have to stay in shape as best as you can. It gets harder as you get older. So I had a good connection there, and we were invited into Black House MMA, and that's when Michael started doing wrestling with Kenny Johnson, and all the killers that are in Black House MMA, they were basically more or less like, big brother teammates, at Black House. So there was a lot of professional fighters there. Michael used to scrap with all of those guys that are, pros, and the up and coming champs. Christian Digero, he's a champion. He started the same day Michael did. So Christian was only 17 when I met him. So, he started training Black House MMA, doing a lot of the wrestling. I was basically the striking side. And, I didn't feel like I wanted to go learn wrestling to reinvent the whole wheel for myself. Just, let somebody else who's really good at it. So Kenny was the man. And I regard him as like the best wrestling instructor you can find anywhere, hands down. So he was there for 3 years. In that process, the pandemic came. We were going to go to Spar Star because that was like our first option, and I didn't know about Fighters Rep. And we found out about it just through the grapevine. And I went to an event, and I helped corner a teammate, and I was like, "Yeah, we can do this. This is great stuff. Like this is exactly what we want to do. The rule set catered to what we can display. I don't have to outsource extra instructors. I just, do what I need to do because karate is a complete striking art. So we pretty much have it all. So I felt like that rule set was like perfect. I didn't really was new to the fight community, so I didn't know about Fighters Rep, and it was still Fighters Rep 7, I think. It was in the facility, the sports facility near Seal Beach somewhere, or wherever it was. I can't remember the name of it. The Ames Sports Center, I think it was called something like that. But it was still in that sports facility before it came to Commerce. And that's where I got introduced. And that's where Michael had his first fight in Fighters Rep 10. And that was after the pandemic. Things just didn't, that time though, things were just like in and out. You didn't know what was going on. And things were, yeah, we're on, yeah, we're off. No, we're on, no, we're back off. Like you couldn't plan your camp, your fights, or anything like that. And once we got Fighters Rep 10, that was it. We stuck with Fighters Rep pretty much for 5 fights in a row, and we did other stuff after, but now we're 10 fights in. So
Tell me about that first Fighters Rep event you guys did. Were you guys apprehensive? Were you guys confident? How did you guys prepare?
well, you know, punching and kicking is punching and kicking. Um, Stand up fighting, whether it's point fighting or full contact, principally it's the same. Hit, don't get hit. Principally, it's the same. Um, Rules are just a little different. So it was a little, different because the rules were slightly new, right? And then, of course, finding out what you can use and what you can't use. So for people that don't know, karate has things that we do that we're not allowed to do in our own sport. So when you give me a rule set that allows me to use techniques that we train already, it's like opening Pandora's box for us. It's not learning new stuff. Um, you know, when somebody says, that's a nice Muay Thai elbow, I'm like, well, karate has elbows too. And we actually have a lot of different elbows, knees, and clinch. We just don't do it in our sport. But we train those techniques for self-defense. So modifying those techniques for sport, is all we have to do really. But you have to get experience, right? So the rule set was hit as hard as you can, don't get hit. They're going to hit you as hard as you can. And learn how to maneuver, head movement, body movement, footwork, which is our specialty. And I think maybe the biggest challenge is not what techniques we can use or what we're used to using. It's learning how to deliver them effectively with gloves that we're used to, small gloves, bare knuckle. We're not used to protection on our hands. I mean, when I competed, it was bone on bone. So we didn't have mouthpieces back then. I didn't have a mouthpiece, so it had to be controlled. Point fighting used to be no mouthpiece. So in the 80s, early 80s, 90s, mouthpieces was a new thing in point karate because everybody understood control. But an accident happens, you lose a tooth. So um, so that changes the game when you put on a big padded pillow, in my opinion. It changes the way your technique can be used. So that was probably the biggest challenge. But as far as like going at it, and continuously fighting for 2 minutes in a round, you train for that. It's not a big deal. You just have to learn the rules and the strategies and adjust from there, and that's what everybody should know how to do.
Yeah, exactly. And just adding on to Joseph's point about the gloves. So, when I grew up, I did kung fu and a little bit of karate. So I always knew, okay, how you make a fist bare knuckle. But some people who've only trained in boxing gloves, you tell them to make a fist, they go like this. Because that's how they put their hands in a boxing glove. It's really funny. I had people, I was like, okay, like punch me like how you would punch a heavy bag. And they had their thumb out and they punched my ribs. And I was like, wow. Like, this is stuff that you and I take for granted, but people who've never done any sort of hand striking without gloves, it doesn't come to them naturally if someone didn't tell them.
You know what? I say this all the time. If all you know how to do is compete in gloves, you're not a martial artist. You're not. Sorry. I don't care who wants to criticize that or not. If you can't punch something with bare knuckle correctly, you can't punch. You're just a combat sport fighter, you know. I don't see anybody training bare knuckle for strikes on pads. Name me a place that does. I don't know anyone that trains that conditions their wrist, their knuckles for impact. I don't see anybody conditioning their knuckles on any kind of surface because they're hitting with gloves, right? But makiwara, which is a traditional striking post, it literally just means make means roll, so it's rolling fabric around a post so that you can hit it, and it gives some resistance and feedback. They didn't have heavy bags back then, but the calcification of the bones of impact constantly toughens the whole bone structure. And in martial arts, as you know, traditional martial arts, we focus on everything aligning correctly. So physical body alignment or body mechanics are important. We never, train with gloves only, you know. And of course, another point that I think people don't really understand is gloves allow you to get sloppy. So if you really want to have good technique, you need to train without gloves, and you need to know how to fight without gloves, and you need to know how to contract the muscle, contract the fist, the bone, everything at the moment of impact without killing your partner. That's where point karate originally came from. Um, but if you don't know how to do the, you know, no gear training, and all you know how to do is hit something with a boxing glove, it's round. It allows you to make a lot of mistakes. And so if you don't hold yourself accountable for those techniques, and you do a hook punch and you hit it with this knuckle because it's a glove, now the wrist is getting impacted in that direction rather than the correct way. And that can be very, very bad if it goes wrong. So it's important to train without gloves too. And, so it's that balance, it's that balance, I think. So, true martial artists will do it all, I think. All right.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I turn off the mic sometimes just in case another garbage truck or something passes by, so I forgot to turn on the mic. But besides the fracturing of their knuckles that some people do, right, when let's say they don't know how to punch without gloves, another injury, it's exactly what you said. This above this knuckle, like these injuries actually happen a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
do.
that's
They
also
do.
exactly like what Joseph said, because sometimes they'll miss, or sometimes it gets bent because they don't know how to do it the right way. So yeah, these, like above this knuckle, I don't know what the technical scientific term is, but yeah, it gets hurt around here a lot.
So
People,
I want to say these would be called like the four, maybe the foreknuckles or the finger knuckles. I
yeah,
don't know
something like
what they
that.
are. Uh, but yeah, I mean, you have to have correct. Uh, you have to be able to hit the bag with no gloves too. And not every tool is the same. You have the clappers. Those are good for like or maybe the pads. Those are good for like sharp, twitchy technique, and then the bag is to lay in. But you still need to be able to do the heavy technique with bare knuckle. Around hook punch, you find out it's very different than when you put gloves on. A lot of people they kind of slap the bag without even realize, especially newer people. Um, and then you have to use the pads, you have to use the mitts, you have to use the paddles, you have to use everything with gloves, without gloves, with wraps, without wraps. You have to do a lot of strengthening. Push-ups on the knuckles are the best way to get your punching alignment because you're strengthening that motion. You know, um, and when I was younger, I mean, I used to have calluses on my knuckle. I had to put lotion on them to soften up over the years. But a funny story: my sensei used to had calluses so hard that he used to put cigarettes out on his knuckles. Just for fun. So I don't find people doing like martial arts to its fullest. I find them focusing on sport. Sport has referees, officials, timekeepers, a ring, a mat, gloves, all kinds of stuff. And I find less and less like if sport didn't exist, what would you be doing? How would you be training for real? You have to create the realistic scenarios and that's how martial arts traditional started. They started on realistic situations that didn't involve sport. So this, idea of traditional martial arts are not effective. It's not because they're not effective. It's because they were designed for something real, not something fabricated. But that doesn't mean they can't be principally applied if you understand how things work.
Yeah.
And we want to represent, karate. That's why we say Michael's a karate fighter. Kickboxing is a sport, not a martial art. Muay Baran is a martial art. Muay Thai is the sport.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sport karate, as in point fighting, is the sport of karate. Karate without sport is the art, which has many things: grappling and choking and gouging, throwing and takedowns and sweeps and elbows and headbutts. I mean, spitting and biting is part of the martial art too, if you're talking about survival. So many things that don't get mentioned, and so we're trying to represent karate in the ring with karate principles. And so, I think we're doing pretty good. I
Yeah.
think we're doing pretty good,
Yeah.
in that regard.
And the follow-up question I had is, so you mentioned footwork earlier. So what I'm getting from you is that Michael's footwork is all from karate.
Yes. Well,
Wow.
Michael learned everything. I mean, he learned everything from me. So, we've had, ideas shared from other people here and there too along the way. However, when you're talking about like whether it's a half step or a sliding step or a switch step or a full stepping through step or bouncing in and out or angling, um, Tai sabaki is what the term is called. It's called body movement or body evasion. So in karate, we talk about body movement as a major component for fighting, and it's premised on sword fighting. So in sword fighting, if you have a blade, I have a blade. The idea is to not get touched at all. Who wins the fight in a sword fight if it's a 1-1 draw? One person got, sliced in half, so did the other. So both are dead, right? You can say the same thing about a duel, musket, each person fires once, they both get hit, they both die. So the idea is hit, don't get hit. And footwork with a long range distance principle is based on the sword distance. So if you take fencing, Olympic fencing, you'll see similar footwork because it's very straightforward, push forward and back. It's not a lot of angles, but the forward and back movement is very long, very lungy, very foot shifting and sliding. And we do that in karate a lot. But we also have to adapt, and do footwork that is close distance. So galloping inside the sides that you might see in other sports, like Dutch kickboxing. Essentially, Dutch kickboxing is karate for full contact. It was developed by Japanese karateka. So even kickboxing or Dutch kickboxing as a sport is developed by karate people originally, right? Thai boxing is from Muay Thai people, Muay Baran. So it's not the same. You can see there's a contrast, and there's a reason there's a contrast. So footwork is a specialty in karate, and everything that Michael has done, we've trained, father and son. So that's the beautiful thing. That's what I'm passionate about. We want to show people, what karate is about. Uh, you're familiar with Lyoto Machida, right? Where did he get his footwork? He got it all from his father. Well, his father is a Japanese Shotokan karate master. Sensei Yoshizo is like Yoda to me. He's like the Jedi, the ultimate Jedi, and all his sons learned karate. Their footwork is superior. Why? That's a specialty in Shotokan. That's our specialty in Shotokan. My footwork was very good when I was, a younger, I'm 51. So you take 20 years off of me and I'll show you footwork that I could do the same, that a lot of people can't do in their 20s. So it's footwork is amazing, important. If you're a hockey player, tennis player, basketball player, any kind of competitive sport, if you don't have footwork, you're at a disadvantage. You need to know how to escape, enter, angle, exit, in and out. You know, I want to say use your footwork in a stealthy approach as well, where you're close, but they don't think you are. These kind of things are, all technical things that you have to drill. And so Michael's footwork is pretty much, it's not what people think, just bouncing. It's not just bouncing, that's just what people see on YouTube. They bounce a lot. That's not karate, you know. So it's not only just karate in that sense. So yeah, footwork is our forte, and
Yeah.
Michael's forte. So
Yeah. I love hearing you talk about this because, again, fighting is fighting, right? And every sport iteration thinks they invented something new or reinvented something new. But at the end of the day, all these systems have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Even, I love to feature Shui Jiao, Chinese wrestling, right? Some of those have been documented like 3,000 years ago. So it's like a lot of times, especially the current MMA craze, they felt like they invented a lot of new stuff, which granted some of it maybe, but the thing is, if you really dig deep,
Based
since
on the rules. Based
yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah,
rules.
yeah, exactly. But if you really dig deep, like a lot of stuff that people have quote unquote invented were always there back in the day. Just sometimes knowledge
Human
gets
human
lost.
movement.
Yeah,
Human movement is human movement.
yeah, and we've been fighting since we were before we even became humans. You know, we've apes. We've all
Look,
fought for hundreds of thousands of years.
e- everybody idolize. I mean, not everybody. I don't, but many people idolize Bruce Lee. Well, Bruce Lee only trained for 20 plus years, and he dibble dabbled in a lot of things. And he was just saying something that nobody else was saying at the time in the modern times. You know, the old masters used to say, train with each other, exchange ideas. Somewhere that became a disconnect with style, right? They want to use style, and what I say is principle, not style. Um, so Bruce Lee, you know, yeah, he told people be like water, and well, who told him that? He didn't come up with that, right? You know, intercepting fist, Jeet Kune Do. It just simply means intercept the attack. Well, we have something in karate called sen no sen. Sen means future, right? So when you intercept something that may come in the future, right, you're countering their future movement with a future movement yourself. And so that is an intercepting technique. This has been around for ages. You know, it's not just something that Bruce Lee made popular, right? But a lot of people don't look that deeply into things, and they think, wow, Bruce Lee can't. Well, he learned it from, you know, 1 inch punch. He self-claimedly learned that from Shotokan, right? He learned a lot of his kicking from Jun Ri, which is a taekwondo specialist. He learned a little bit of boxing from Muhammad Ali. He learned a lot of things that were not necessarily Wing Chun, right? But if you really want the real badass of that lineage, that's Ip Man. You know, so he just got Hollywood behind him, and then MMA kind of usually says Bruce Lee, and they put him on this pedestal, and I'm like, yeah, he's good, and he was an athletic specimen that I think nobody else could match because he was just so uniquely gifted. But he had a lot of dietary issues. He had weight loss cuts and up and downs all the time. Nobody knows about a lot of those things, but old philosophies are simply just being reminded. Like you said, you know, I think people need to start understanding that many things existed way before most people in this generation have even, you know, been breathing. So, you know, and like I said, no disrespect to any given, but it's just a matter of understanding that any given art is much bigger than us and much older and deeper, and there's always something to learn, which is why I don't believe in learning multiple arts. I believe in learning one art continuously because it does not end.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, what is the day in the life of Joseph?
Wow. Well, I'm a dad. You know, I'm a husband and a dad and a sensei, and you know, I'm all of those all day. You know, so um, and of course, I have my family overseas. I'm here, you know, in America, and most of my family are overseas. So, day in the life with me is trying to be all of those things, of course. But my passion is martial arts. So, I started my dream of being a martial artist started when I was 5. I have a book, which is a Q&A book that I bought in 1978. Just an answers, and I was 5 at the time. So um, I went to the bookstore. My mom was, we're at the mall somewhere, and I saw this book, and it was a Q&A of all these martial arts. And ever since then, that was my passion. And I still have that book. It's got masking tape. It's all taped together. But so for me, martial arts is day in and day out, you know. And now that it's also my business, my income, my livelihood, pretty much everything I think about is martial arts. But you know, and I have hobbies. I like chess, you know. I like bike riding. I like table tennis. I like basketball. I'm a sports person. But when I have a day to just not do anything physical, I like to just woosah, relax because, even your phone, when it goes down to 1%, you got to plug that thing in and let it charge. So for me, I believe in having good time at home. I like watching movies, hanging out, like my Michael and I and my younger son Salah, we were watching the Euro Cup before we went live, watching, Portugal and Slovenia play. We had to put that on pause. But we like soccer. My son plays soccer. We like soccer, watching sports. And so when I don't have to be at the dojo, I like relaxing and just, doing things with the family and being around my family uh, more than anything, you know.
I see.
Um,
I see. Let's definitely play chess sometime. Chess is
sure,
my
yeah.
other hobby. I discovered the hobby last year in November. So especially now, I sprained my wrist. So it's like I'm just playing chess all the time. So yeah, if you
Uh,
ever want to play chess, I'd love to play you in chess.
I got Michael in the chess too. He plays
Oh,
all day, every day.
perfect.
He's
Oh,
on his phone. I like the board.
me too.
I
Me
have the
too.
I have the physical clock and the board. I've got books, chess books and stuff that I've studied over the
Wow.
years. But yeah, chess is definitely a brain, like it's a strategy, mind-opening game that exercises your brain. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, chess is one of my passions.
That's
Um,
great. I found more
yeah.
chess buddies. This is awesome. So tell me about how classes work at Claycomb Karate. Do you have, let's say, kid classes, adult classes? Do you break it up by, let's say, okay, one day we do weapons, one day we do traditional karate, one day we train it more towards a kickboxing sport? Tell me about that.
Well, our dojo is pretty much a full-time endeavor.
Okay.
Um, so we have personal training, and then I also have people that are allowed to train at home virtually so that they can actually submit their footage that they send me, and I count that as a class as well. I
Oh.
keep that honor system of them. Like if I say, okay, go do this routine, it's going to take you half an hour to get through it. You send me a highlight of it, kind of like a school teacher sends homework and you go do the homework. They don't
Mm-hmm.
ask you to read the chapter in front of you.
Yeah.
They ask you to show the work. So we have virtual training where people can go online, watch some tutorials that we've created, Michael and I. They can follow our live Facebook class that we do twice a week. So they can follow from home, or they can follow whenever they want and send me a WhatsApp video. And then I look at the class, I send them feedback. If I say, bend your knee, put your hand up, whatever it is, they understand that language because they've been in class. So it's a support to the physical classes, which are 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And kids classes, we start at 8. We might be starting a 5 to 7 year old class soon.
Oh.
Um, Maybe, we're contemplating it. It's another opportunity for another age group, but real martial arts requires a maturity level. So it's a business need, but it's also like I don't know if I want to do it or not because the younger they get, they just are less focused. So it's kind of a challenge. But our classes are age specific. So like 8 to 11 year olds are in one group, and then 12 to 15 are in another group, and then adults are 16 and above. And it's all karate classes for the kids. We teach them all the fundamentals and all those things. They get to spar too. Adults, it's a little different. Adults, I offer like a more kickboxing and conditioning class twice a week because they like to put on gloves, wear t-shirt and shorts. And then I also do the traditional karate, which is looks like, I mean, they wear gear in that class too. It's just we're wearing a full gi.
Mm.
Um, and gi training is important. Most people don't realize why, but the gi idea was that if you were a poor person or a rich person, it didn't matter because you're wearing a uniform. So everybody can train together. And so it's a humility, uh, you know, staying humble, staying simple, staying uniform together, all one in one unison. And so we do the gi training too. And so adults get the benefits of having the flexibility of the t-shirt short days, and then they have the traditional days as well, and the other 2 days. And they get the pad work and all the other things that we do. And Michael gets to do a lot of the training in those classes too for his
Mm-hmm.
kickboxing endeavor. And professional career one day. So, and then of course Michael does his conditioning at home. We have a full set of weights and assault bike and equipment at home. So he does his training in the mornings, and then we train at night at the dojo. And then after hours, which is 9:30 onwards, that's when him and I do also a lot of work together. So we don't even get home until midnight sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it's him and I, you know, on the same page. He's bought in, we're bought in together about what we're doing.
Hmm.
And so the dojo itself is general classes that people that aren't fighters, most people don't want to be a fighter. Most people like the idea of fighting techniques. Um, one glove in the face, and I mean glove, not even hand. I don't like that. You know what I mean? And then most people that actually can pay for classes need to go to work the next day. So we don't teach fighters. I teach Michael. I coach Michael. Um, uh, and at the same time, the dojo has the opportunity. If anybody wants to be a fighter, they just got to talk to me. This is my goal. And
Mm.
and we have the ability to bring them up through whether it's an amateur fighting career or PKBs. If we want to do that route, we can do that. uh, it's a matter of putting together a camp and putting together preparation and getting you in shape. But for the most part, the kids graduate up in rank, belt ranking, and then adults, same thing. And then we have the virtual training on the side as well that they can supplement their training. And that's how the dojo works. And that's what sponsors everything. The dojo pays for Michael's training, his gear. I'm sensei, dad, landlord, boss, coach, sensei, sponsor, advertiser, all that. So I kind of have all those hats.
Yeah. I love you sharing this because running a dojo is very much like running a YouTube channel. It's very similar. You wear every hat. And people don't realize, for example, you saying you don't get done until midnight. Some days, if I really want to try, that's me too on YouTube. Even right before we did the interview, I was I was going through stuff I put off because YouTube keeps adding settings to your videos, which like I get a feeling the existing videos that you have from years ago, yes, they stay up, they still get promoted, but I was like, I'm putting off like checking all those new settings they add. I feel like I should do it, so I started going through it. I'm like, maybe my channel's taking a dive because I'm not like up to date with checking all the new boxes that they added even for the old video.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that, right? Like things that people don't think about, like you're the landlord too. You're the cleaner too, right? People forget about that. You guys are the
Hmm.
janitors too. Yeah, so these are things that
Yep.
people don't know about. They just when they think about dojos, think about, oh yeah, the black belt, the respect. And it's like, yeah, but there's all this like other just day-to-day organizational stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, we have a thing called soji. You mentioned janitor. So
Mm-hmm.
soji kata. Kata doesn't just mean, some form. Kata is the act of doing something properly
Mm-hmm.
in a specific way. Kind of like punctuation, right? Like your alphabet is a kata and punctuating is part of that
Mm-hmm.
correctly, right? So soji means cleaning. So there's a certain way that you got to clean. So like we have tatami zoris, for example, in the bathroom, we have little slippers. Those slippers don't leave the bathroom. They're meant to be put on. You go, come out. The slippers stay in there. So nothing goes in and out of the bathroom on your feet and onto the mat.
Way more
Um,
sanitary. Listen, people,
right.
everyone should follow what Sensei just said. Seriously, anyone that has a gym, jujitsu gyms especially, or Muay Thai gyms where people have to be barefoot on the mats, should follow what they do in karate. Seriously, like bathroom should have separate shoes that are easily slipped on, so
Yes.
people don't have to worry, especially if they're into training, they want to run to the bathroom. A lot of people just run with their bare feet to the no. Like you have to have a separate shoe area, separate slip-on shoes just for the bathroom. I'm so passionate about this, but I come from a culture that also understands that. And like I see Americans walking outside, they got dog shit on their feet, and then they walk inside with their fucking shoes on. Only time I use the F word today.
You know what? You're right. Actually, you know, uh, I don't know why. I mean, there's places that are clean, obviously, but if you're wearing the same shoes that you walked in from outside, so this is how it goes, right? Tatami, you're not supposed to wear shoes. Now, this is general. Everybody does the same thing. You're not supposed to wear shoes on the mat. Okay, fine. that's fine.
Hmm.
But you shouldn't be wearing your shoes from the outside into the bathroom and then outside the bathroom and then in around, all over the place. And then if you go barefoot, you're just basically stepping on that same stuff and then going in the bathroom and then adding more stuff and then coming out and then coming back and then going back on the mat and now it's all over your feet. It's like, wait, and then people were freaking out in the pandemic about handing debit cards in the drive-through. Oh my God, you know, let me give you my debit cards in this box and then you pick it up and they still touched it with their germs and we touched it with our germs and it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have a separate thing. So
Yeah.
the slippers help, with you're going to put mat germs maybe on the slippers, but the bathroom germs are not going to come out of the bathroom,
Yes.
so that's the main point. And
Yeah.
then, of course, we have sanitizer everywhere too, but I tell people all the time, especially boys, hey, sit down, pee, don't pee all over the toilet or around the toilet. The ladies don't like that. It's also part of cleanliness. I have to clean bathrooms, I have to mop the floor, I have to sanitize, I have to clean the mats. And as a dojo owner, I'm not renting space from someone like a lot of places do. I have to keep everything clean. I vacuum every day. People see me vacuuming all the time. And that's lead by example.
Yeah.
So soji is actually part of the Japanese traditional martial arts, Aikido, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, as in actual Jiu-Jitsu, not Brazilian. Actual Jiu-Jitsu is from Japan. Um, uh, Karate, any place, Kenjutsu, Iaido, any Japanese martial arts, and it's the same in Chinese martial arts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Culturally, it's the same. So, Korean martial arts, same thing. Mukdu Kwan, Tang Sudo, Kyuk Wan, Taekwondo, all of them have the same philosophical cleanliness. And
Yeah.
that's something that's
Exactly.
missing in the MMA world.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been to some gyms. I've been to some gyms where their bathroom's just disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how do you guys even like? No wonder you get staph infections.
Yeah. My Muay Thai friend just got a staph infection. So, and it's funny. I'm sure you know about this, but the reason why it's in Muay Thai, at least in the old days, it wasn't too respectful to teep in the face, was because people would walk barefoot and then they get all the germs on their feet. And so, like, you're not just kicking them in the face, you're also getting germs from outside in the bathroom everywhere onto their face. That was actually one of the reasons why it was disrespectful to teep people in the face.
That actually makes complete sense, and
Yeah.
I actually really appreciate that. Just hearing that because it's true. There's more to martial arts than just winning.
Yeah. Or
Uh,
learning to fight. Like the joke is when you go, a lot of people when they go to Muay Thai, like when they go to Thailand to train Muay Thai, again, I love Muay Thai. Everyone knows I love Muay Thai. But the joke is when you go to Thailand to train Muay Thai, it's like a flip of a coin if you're going to get some kind of infection from that, just how dirty the mats are.
I mean, it is what it is, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's up to everyone to also be hygienic themselves. Like
Yeah.
nobody's a little kid. So everybody needs to practice personal hygiene. Um, anyways,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things I like about what we do in karate. Any traditional martial art, not just because you need to avoid things and be sanitary, but because it also creates a clean character.
Yeah.
So you know, we have a quote on the door, on our back door, that everybody sees it at the way out. Funakoshi said once, he said, the ultimate aim of karate is not in victory or defeat, but in the perfection of character of its participants. Now, Jigaro Kano, the founder of judo, right, who took jujitsu and turned it into judo for safety reasons, for popularity and to spread as a sport, um, he had similar philosophies, right? That didn't transfer to Brazilian jiu-jitsu for some reason. It's rare if you find a school that's like that cleanliness. They deal with staph infections all the time. It's okay to have bacteria. There's a difference between bacteria and filthy germs. It's not the same thing. There's healthy bacteria and then there's bad bacteria, right? So you need to be able to not only, not be afraid of bacteria just because it's bacteria. I mean, everybody has to have, some sort of immunity, health immunity, strong, healthy. That's how we build strong immunities. But At the same time, if it's bad, if it's dirty, if it's filthy, we also need to be self-aware of these things and be clean.
Yeah.
And the dirtiest places I've seen are the most unkept, have been in the fight community that I have seen. I've seen many places where you don't want to step on the bathroom floor with your bare feet because you're afraid it's so bad. I'm not going to call out any places, but let's just say there's been more than 5 places where I felt disgusted going to the bathroom just to go wash my hands. I didn't feel comfortable grabbing the door. I sanitize my door handles every day. We've got kids, so kids touch everything, right?
Yeah.
I sanitize the door frames. I clean everything. So soji is in my life too. It's at home. It's funny. Somebody said the other day, so you vacuum at home the same way at the dojo? I'm like, yeah, I do. We vacuum everywhere the same way. We clean everywhere. So, and if you can't keep yourself clean from a hygienic standpoint, how are you going to have clean technique?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
mind has to be about being accurate and precise and clean and detailed.
Yeah.
And so that translates to the training. It translates, the cleanliness does, which is another benefit of traditional martial arts. Clean character, clean attitude, clean physical appearance, clean technique, clean mindset. Make it crisp, make it sharp, make it technical. These are things that take a long time. A lot of people want to skip all that process. I just want to fight. And so that's why you see a lot of these characteristics are lacking in the fight community, and not so much in dojos. But then you see a lot of traditional dojos not in the fight community, representing their art. So again, that goes back to what we're trying to do, which is we're trying to represent karate in the fight community. And it doesn't have to be MMA. I don't believe MMA is the be all end all for anything. I think it's just a rule set that everybody can use. If you're not a striker, you're a grappler. You can go to MMA, but grapplers aren't going to come to kickboxing. I guarantee that, unless they start working striking, because it's a sport. You have to, right? Um, if you don't, if MMA was the only combat sport, I think maybe that anybody could do, then everybody would have to train for that scenario. But you don't have to if it's not the only option. It's a choice, right? So I don't believe it as a be all end all. I believe it as a selection of many options. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. This viewer named Spirit of Justice had a really cool question, so I'll ask that to you. What do you think about karate getting into the Olympics?
Oh boy. Well, I think the wrong version of karate got to the Olympics. And we're talking not karate as an art that went to the Olympics. We're talking a sport variation of karate, right? So there's Kyokushin, right? That's full contact karate. Kickboxing originally was called full contact karate. Okay, it was not called kickboxing until later. Its original name was full contact karate. That version was not represented, right? What was represented wasn't even the original point fighting. It was the WKF, the World Karate Federation's version of point karate. It's not the only version, okay? And if anybody asks, American karate is not karate. Sorry, guys. Uh, so anything Kempo. Kempo is Chinese based. It's not Japanese based. Karate, literally the pronunciation originally was China hand. It changed to empty hand. The person who created the word was Funakoshi Gichin Sensei, the person who was responsible for Shotokan. It was called Te, Okinawa Te, or Tode, or other names. It was not called Karate. All right. So it was the first style to be called Karate by meaning of empty hand, not China hand, was different kanji, same pronunciation to represent the art. And Funakoshi, if you go in the lineage, Funakoshi, Nakayama. Nakayama is the person who created the sport of point fighting and kata competition. That's my sensei's sensei. So my sensei, I'm here, Sasaki Nakayama Funakoshi. I'm only 3 generations away from the founder. So when somebody asks me about karate in the Olympics or anything, well, it's a sport variation of karate. And that is the Olympic move. So like taekwondo has suffered because of Olympic taekwondo. Judo has suffered because of Olympic judo. Boxing, even boxing suffered from Olympic boxing to a degree, right? The sport of boxing, because they've had to, you know, go through so many different things about, headgear, no headgear, this and that, the studies and all that, and what makes it attractive. Karate, I feel, it was a good attempt at representing, the sport, um, but the point karate rules that were used are the same rules that are in the direction that I don't agree with, which, for example, the women's gold medalist in the team kumite, which is fighting, she didn't score a point at all. It was a 0-0 match. It went to overtime, and then it was a 0-0 draw after that. And then 5 judges say who made the decision. Not a single point was scored. So the gold medalist of the female from, I think it was Serbia, or I think she was Serbian, in the 2020, she won a gold medal without landing anything. To me, that's disgraceful. That does not represent karate. You all you did was try to move forward a little bit. It's like those UFC fights where nothing happened. There was a fight with I can't remember their names now, but there was a female fight where one person was just walking forward, never landed anything, and she got the decision. And it was for a belt, UFC belt. And everybody was up in arms about it. Well, it's the same thing for karate people. There was another one where the guy got kicked in the face, knocked out, and he won. So he's going to say, well, grandson, grandpa, how did you win your gold medal in the Olympics? Well, this guy knocked me out and I won. And they're like, where's grandma? you know, let's find another person to tell us a cool story, because this one's just definitely not a cool story at all. And so the rules are based on what? Based on the original idea of sword fighting, that if you touch somebody, they're going to die. The idea of Iken Hitsatsu, meaning one strike, one death, comes from one sword strike. And so the philosophy of thinking of your hands and feet as swords is to treat them as seriously as swords. And with no gear and no equipment, if I go full blast with you, somebody's going to get hurt. And so that's where the idea of not plowing through your opponent. But back in the day, if you won first place in the point fighting karate, what happened to you? I lost a tooth and a black eye, but I got first place. Because along the way, 5 fights later, you're getting hit in the face, you're getting hit in the eye. And that's what a first place winner looked like, no teeth and a black eye. Now they barely get touched, and they're counting points for control, but they're also counting something that is used to be counted. We call it mubobi. I don't see it being counted anymore. Mubobi means if you put yourself in a vulnerable position, like this guy who got kicked, he leaned into the kick and put himself into a vulnerable position where the kick just hit him. He put himself at a bad position and paid the consequences. They did not count that as mubobi. My days, that's what was called. If you turned around carelessly or put your hands down to a degree, or did something that made you vulnerable, it was a warning against you. So you would not do that. Now they're not counting those. They've changed the rules to where it allows more carelessness. So when somebody like from the fight community watches that, they go, what is that? First, they don't understand why it's point anyways, like point karate, what does that mean? They don't understand the criteria. They don't understand the philosophy behind it. They just look at it as, oh, they're holding back, they're not hurting each other, they're just touching each other, not really hitting, so it's not really real fighting. And that's kind of what it's becoming because of these rules. So I feel if anybody looks up JKA competitions, JKA, or look up the KUGB, which is the United Kingdom Karate Union of Great Britain, Frank Brennan, Ronnie Christopher, Elwin Hall. If you look at these guys in the 80s, they're like, wow, that's full contact. Somebody told me, that's full contact. I'm like, no, that was point karate. guys getting swept and mauled all over the place. And, oh, that's full. I'm like, no, that's not. That's no glove point karate. JKA from the 70s, 80s, KUGB from the 70s, from this, 70s, 80s was like that. That was where I grew up on. So I don't like what the karate representation was in the Olympics because I feel it really brings down what karate is. And the other shameful part about it is that I know everybody in the traditional karate community in Southern California, and nobody supports the fighting either. Like they don't come to the fights. I've invited all my sensei friends. Nobody comes. There's one dojo that shows up every time. Combat Karate in Long Beach. They're friends of mine. They're Sugar Bomb fans. Nobody from the karate community unites. We can't find sparring partners for Michael in the karate community, believe it or not. And the only person that I can rely on is Chinzo Machida, but he's in Lomita. I'm in Fontana. It's like a 65, 70 mile, 3 hour haul every time. So it's very hard for us to keep doing that, when we have a full-time commitment, on the other side of the world practically. And they happen to be fighting, bringing a student. For the first time, we're not going to be the only karate people in Fighters Rep. So that's going to be exciting. Hopefully I get to be in the same room as Chinzo because him and I are brothers. We're like really close friends. So I get to see that and support him. But karate in the Olympics has really tarnished what karate representation is. That representation is tarnished. I think karate in general. And now they're not in the Olympics anymore. They got voted out anyways.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So they're out. They're like an exhibition thing, I think now.
Okay.
They're not a medal sport anymore. They
Wow.
got voted in, and the headquarters of the WKF is in France, and the next Olympics are in France. And they didn't even get voted in for the second one. So it took forever, bajillion years to get in, and just like that, they're out. And everybody thinks they're going to do Olympic karate to build their dojo, build their student base. But you know, for each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
But I believe in marketing and advertising. I don't believe in doing a sport to popularize you, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But in the fight community, if you get popular, being a household name, that's our goal for Michael. If Sugar Bomb becomes a household name, that's definitely going to help his business credibility in the future, our business credibility in the future, showing what karate can do in the ring.
Yeah.
We're not going to get that same respect in point karate. We've been there, done that. I used to be an official. I did not agree with a lot of things, and I stopped being that. And I don't believe in working 10 hours a day as an official and getting a Subway sandwich as a payment. I believe in like pay me for my time at least, but they don't even have people come watch. They don't sell tickets. So it's like a defeating purpose almost. It's like going to a tournament, you have to pay, $90 to participate. And then there's nobody there to watch. There's no live stream. There's none of that. So they're not really promoting themselves on top of the fact that they're misrepresented in the Olympics that last time. And that's the same rule set that's popular, and everybody's kind of practicing a very diluted version of sport karate, let alone karate itself.
Yeah.
And that's why you find not very many people representing karate in, say, kickboxing anymore, or fight sports in general. You know, bless you.
Thank you. So, what is next for Michael? Is he going to try karate combat? Is he, because you mentioned karate combat? So, tell me more about what's next for Michael.
Well, we've been there. We actually were at Karate Combat when they did the amateur series called the Kumite. We were there. Michael, for people that didn't know, Michael fought 5 fights completely blind. In other words, if you look at his younger pictures or younger videos, you'll see him wearing glasses, prescription glasses. I wear reading glasses, and now when I look at a screen, I just like to relax my eyes. I could do this, but I look at the TV and it's clear. I look at you and it's blurry a little bit. So I'm like, yeah, but reading glass, $5, yeah, just magnifying glasses. But Michael had prescription, lazy eye slash stigmatism and all that, and he would fight and he would see color. He wouldn't see detailed like figures in front of him. And we were undefeated. for 4 fights, 4-0, and then we had a title fight at Fighters Rep. And he wasn't himself mentally that day, but on top of it, after he got the fight stopped, David Rivera is a tough guy. After he stopped the fight got stopped. Michael's eye was going back, and they thought he was, injured, but that's what his eye used to do. And he used to do video games and look at the side, and his eye would be like catching up with the other ones. So it was always kind of like doing that for focusing all the time. They didn't realize that that's what he naturally did. So after that fight, he had 5 fights in Fighters Rep. I said, we're not going to fight anymore until we get eye surgery. You're going to be full HD when moving forward. And he was not training for several months, no sparring for about 6 or 7 months. And right around the time of the doctor releasing him to be able to go to full activities, sparring and all that, your eyes are good, you're healed. He and I found the invitation from Karate Combat, send in your video, send in a highlight video to Karate Combat. And so we did. I said, Michael, this is an opportunity. Let's do it. So we sent in a video of stuff, training highlights and montage. And he got selected. He got selected by then Adam Kovac, the president of Karate Combat at the time. And we went to Miami, and we had one sparring session after the eye surgery. And it was only one session to just test the waters to see how he's moving. So it wasn't like he had a camp, and they gave us barely a week and a half notice. So it wasn't a full camp preparation. We went in there to try out, and it was a 2-round exhibition, not a sanctioned fight. But we still got the experience. He didn't get the vote. He didn't get knocked out, but he got a black eye. A karate guy against another karate guy. First time for Michael fighting full contact against a karate guy. So Michael got karate. And so he was, by the second round, he was finding his rhythm, but it was too late. It was only 2 rounds, not even 3. So he didn't get the decision. But it was an exhibition, not an on record kind of thing, which is cool. But we still got the cool uniform, the sleeveless gi. We got the exposure. We met Boss Rutan. We met Ross Levine. We met Josh Quayhagen. We became friends with all those guys. One of the people that I love a lot in the point karate is Rafael Agayev. If you don't know who he is, he's the Karate Combat full contact undefeated champion, and he's a point fighter, and he's a monster, and nobody can figure him out. He beat Raymond Daniels, by the way, put him to school. So I knew he was going to win. He's also 8 inches shorter than Raymond Daniels, but Agayev put a clinic on him, and nobody has till this day figured it out. So we met him, we got pictures, we did all that stuff at Karate Combat. We got the exposure, the connections, and it was a great experience. Maybe one day we're going to go back, because it's the word karate. I just don't like how regular fighters are going in with black belts when they're not even a karate practitioner. They're not a karateka at all. I kind of feel like maybe they should do the Olympic thing where it's like, okay, here's a red belt, here's a blue belt, kind of like Olympic, on the belt. So that way there's no black belt rank involved. And that's kind of what the WKF does, which I do like that part. But don't say you're, this and this good fighter, and you're a Muay Thai fighter, or you're a MMA fighter, and now you have a black belt on. It's like, you wouldn't do that to a jiu-jitsu person. You just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't say, oh, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You'd do a no-gi competition, but you wouldn't go in a gi competition and put a black belt on when you're not. Don't do it for karate. But we want to go back at some point. That's kind of like the goal for us. UFC is not a goal for us, at least not right now. Neither is MMA. We want to really popularize karate. So Karate Combat's the only fight promotion that has gi pants, the word karate. It's a lot of karate people from point fighting that are successful in there, but it's a mix of everyone too. So we've been there already. We met a lot of people. We made connections. We got the exposure. Michael got the experience. He didn't get the decision at that time, but then we won a title at Royal Combat against a really tough guy, Greg Hoskins. in a 5-rounder that Michael ended the fight with, which I believe I sent you that video. Um, and that was when we had the first full camp after eye surgery to prepare for that. And Michael put on what looked like what Michael should look like then. Then we got that title fight in Fighters Rep. Milshan put Michael out, stoppage in 12 seconds. It was just like Michael wasn't mentally there at the time. For whatever reason, that happens, right? Adrenaline dump and whatnot, and he responded the wrong way. Milshan was super athletic, amazingly fast, and he lost the fight. But now he's fighting in HD. So now Michael, now that he settles in and gets you see the last 2 fights, even with Tomazaki, he didn't, output the way he should have, but he was still managing his distance. He could see details. So the Michael after the surgery versus before the surgery are 2 different fighters. And, he's put on 2 different highlights in a row, stopping the fights with knockouts and TKOs with his ability to see. So if karate combat is an option later down the line, definitely it will be in our, I want to say, list of things we want to do. But we're pretty happy going all the way with Fighters Rep. We love George anyways. He's just a good promoter. He promotes people. Why fight for free and not get paid for it if you're not even going to get a view?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Like, you're already putting yourself like out there in a dangerous rule set that you could get injured any day. Why would you not want to get the views? So we don't want to fight unless we're going to get publicity.
Yeah.
That's the trade-off, is to get publicity and to build our name up and to show, and it's negative when we lose and it's great when we win. We still get the attention regardless.
Yeah.
Maybe one doesn't taste as good, and if it's bad, but it's still exposure. People are gonna be like, what's this guy? Criticize them, say whatever you want. It's good exposure, bad exposure, it's still exposure. And Fighters Rep is where I believe that's where we want to be. And the rule set caters to us perfectly as karate people, because we don't have to go out and do more stuff. We can focus on what we're good at. Hands, feet, and knees, that's karate all day. Hands, feet, knees all day is karate. And even elbows, but it's just, we'd rather not deal with that. There's something that is dangerous about elbows, especially, whether you're good at them or not. Like, why would you want to put that into the risk factor? So I like the rules. I prefer the above the knee rules, like the what do they call it? The international rules, I think they call it. The unified rules is the full leg that we do now with the calf. But I've seen a couple of guys get hurt in the knee with those leg kicks, and I don't like that. We're pretty good at defending that, and we're pretty good at like framing our stance to even if we take shots, it's taken differently than somebody standing completely up, like a high stance. But I prefer like the above the knee, rule set too, and that's perfect for karate as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess, for everyone watching, whether now or later, just stay tuned. A lot more to come. And basically, I told Joseph before we started going live, whenever there's updates, let's do more interviews. And of course, we'll always feature Michael on Fight Commentary Breakdowns. So I'm excited where his journey goes. I'm excited where your dojo goes. And yeah, just don't be shy. If you ever want to do more talks, more interviews, always down. And
awesome.
Just keep sending me footage anytime.
Well, Fighters Rep puts out the best footage.
Yeah.
I had to send you the videos of the 2 fights that were like one's on YouTube, both of them are on YouTube, but I had to snippet one from Cali because they have a live stream, but it's not like it's not per fight. Like they don't, and there's no camera angles in the ring, so I had to kind of snippet that out and then send it to you and post it up on my own YouTube channel so that it could at least be viewed.
Mm-hmm. Put
a title in there. But yeah, we'd be more than happy to do it. I liked your channel. The minute I saw what you were doing, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. There's not a lot of fight commentary out there. I mean, there are, but I find it mostly in MMA. focused. It's not a lot of kickboxing focus or
Yeah.
striking focus,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nice to see the stand-up game get some attention too. And I tell people all the time, if you want the stand-up game, the striking promotions to grow, stop supporting MMA, stick to striking. If you're a Muay Thai specialist, support your Muay Thai promotions, support your kickboxing promotions. MMA is not the direction just because it's there, you know. Muay Thai is not the direction if you're a grappler. So same thing.
Yeah.
If you want to
Exactly.
do it all. But if you want to support, what you call striking, support the striking promotions. I believe that at
Yeah.
least. Because
Yeah.
that's what makes
Absolutely.
them strong to begin with. And boxing people support boxing. They don't support, nogi grappling. I mean, it's just a whole different thing. If you're a grappler, support your grappling. If you're a striker, support the striking,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. And for me, I think YouTube almost forced my hand because I wanted to cover everything, but then I started noticing when I covered grappling, nobody cared. So I'm like, okay, I know who my fans are. So I just cater it towards the fans, you know? If one day I
Yeah.
get a big influx of fans who want to see grappling, maybe I'll cover grappling. But as of now, the only grappling they want to see are throws, right? So if it's judo or shuaijiao, okay, they're okay with it. But like if it's on the ground rolling, they will never care for it. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. So
I mean, look, grappling is important. I
yeah,
believe grappling for the street is important. I don't believe grappling for points is important. Um, but again, it's a sport. So if it's a sport that you're trying to promote and support, by all means, that's what you're supposed to do if
yeah,
you're a grappler. And I
yeah,
don't care if and grappling does not mean only jujitsu. Filipino martial arts are grappling. Japanese jujitsu looks like old school karate, right? There's all kinds of different things in Japanese jiu-jitsu that is available in karate as well because it's used to be called karate jutsu. So, yeah, there's a lot of things out there that people don't know. But I personally find it difficult to watch. Like I've tried watching collegiate wrestling. It's more action, but I've tried watching grappling. I understand grappling a little bit, because I've grappled too. But I just can't see it entertaining for me personally.
yeah,
It just doesn't gravitate me. I've been to the IBJJF tournament to understand the rules 7 years in a row. I went because I was the only karate guy going to see what is this rules about? Why is this illegal? Why is reaping the knee illegal? Why is this? Why is that? Why do they restrict certain things? Like I tried to understand that because I understand that in my sport as an official. So I understand the IBJJF focus and the rules and all that too, and everything they do. And when you're there, it's great, but if you watch it on a screen, it's harder to watch.
yeah, yeah. There's
It's
an
really hard to
atmosphere
watch.
component to it. There really
Yes.
is, and that's why for people, I would say go to shows, go to Fighters Rep, or if you're fans of Michael, you've never gone to a show, go to a fight where he's fighting. The live atmosphere is just different, man, and this goes with anything, with fencing competitions, with kung fu competitions, with anything. The live
Yeah.
atmosphere is worth it, man. It really
It
is.
really is. It really is. I mean, even karate tournaments, even though they don't have a lot of people there, it's still a very different perspective in person.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
the stuff that I don't really agree with as far as like the rules, but if you go to like a one, like an Ippon Shobu event, you see just being there, it's different.
yeah. I went
You
to
go
one
to
of those college point taekwondo competitions. I was just there to support a roommate, and the energy of it was pretty cool because there's like 20 matches going on at the same time. Even that in itself is cool. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, martial arts is fun,
yeah,
regardless of what focus you take. It's an endeavor that's beautiful, it's fun,
yeah,
it's graceful. Every
yeah,
martial art is good. I just I prefer a totality approach. Like learn everything full circle in one art.
yeah,
You
yeah,
want to learn a wrist grab, you want to learn a clinch, you want to learn anything, you will find it in your art.
yeah,
Now, if your art is basically sport based, you're not going to learn it there. So if your sport is, BJJ and it's only ground fighting, newaza, you're neglecting a tamiwaza, you're neglecting a toshiwaza, not just newaza, then you're geriwaza, skiwaza, all the different elements that are there, striking, throwing, Shimiwaza, which is chokes and strangulation, blood flow restriction. Shimiwaza, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Kansetsu waza. Well, that's something in karate too. That's joint techniques. So that's not, newaza is grappling, but inside grappling, there's newaza, there's shimewaza and kansetsu waza, right? Which are the joints and the arm bars and the chokes and the strangulations, gi, no gi, all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's also finger hawks and there's all these things, but they don't focus on it because they're sport. So I look at it from a non-sport perspective. Learn the entire art. You'll find every secret and everything available because it was designed by multiple generations over time. Whether it's karate, jujitsu, kung fu, you'll find it. Not just what's in a sport. Muay Thai. If you look at traditional Muay Baran, there's stepping and punching like a karate person. There's stepping elbows like a karate person.
Yeah.
Stepping,
Yeah.
line drills.
Yeah.
It
Their
looks
structure. Their structure
they're
is a lot like a karate. It's really funny.
actually
They're
it's so
blocking and stuff like that. Yeah, they're like joint breaking.
Muay Baran, where Muay Thai came from, is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It is amazingly beautiful. You go to YouTube and just type in Muay Baran, and you'll find out like some of these, not Muay Thai, Muay Baran, which it came from. It's like you said, structured instructors, students, they wear sashes, they wear, certain uniforms. Um, it's beautiful. It's amazing to watch and to see the match. Muay Baran is very, very organic, very much like Filipino martial arts, very organic, and so good to watch in its form. But unfortunately, you don't see anything like that here. You
Yeah.
see what is meant for commercialism, and people, tend to focus on what's easier. So things that take process and longer endeavors to learn, people ignore. So it's the Instagram level, right? If it's longer than 15 seconds, it's too much effort for them to even pay attention to. So that's where traditional martial arts is having a hard time because it's too much focus demand on people because people don't have focus, period. They can't even train without gloves,
Yeah. Yeah. And
which they need to,
yeah. We'll
so
make this the last question because, as you can see, the next interview guy was trying to log in already. So we'll make this the
oh
next question, the last question. But what's a common misconception that, let's say, new students who step into your dojo and start training? What is something you hear often from students, whether it's a question or an expectation or something?
Um, well, they watch, well, we get mostly kids because adults don't necessarily come to us because adults are told by the TV to go to Muay Thai and BJJ
Yeah.
or MMA gyms for some reason because that's what's on TV. They're not being fed the idea of go seek out a good karate school. People that make intelligent decisions seeking benefits of martial arts in general will come to us as adults because they're looking for the benefits, not the hype, right?
Yeah.
And so the hype tells them to go elsewhere. So what we get is mostly kids.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing is do you teach self-defense? And I go, what do you mean? Well, you teach karate. Do you teach self-defense? And I say, when did self-defense not associate with what we're doing? Karate is self-defense at its core. It was not sport. It is self-defense.
Yeah.
Everything about it is self-defense. So I think the understanding of self-defense is a misinterpretation. Uh, just because it takes process, people want to learn self-defense in an hour. Like, oh, I want to do a self-defense course. So I think the biggest misconception is, will my son learn self-defense? Well, he's going to learn how to focus, coordinate his body first, because you need to do that. If you don't know how to use your body, how can you defend yourself? So they think that doing rudimentary exercises is not self-defense, but in fact, you're neurologically programming your body to do movements that you don't know how to move. I mean, I have women that come to my classes, they struggle with just a punch, like how to put their hand out. So we're teaching them how to walk, how to punch, how to block, how to move, how to evade, how to put their hand, even put their hands up is like, and then of course, the idea of learning how to be aggressive when you have to apply something. That's part of self-defense. So the biggest misconception I think that we get is, do you teach self-defense? I think that's the biggest misnomer I ever heard of, because traditional martial arts are not sport. They're self-defense in
Well,
purpose. And, there's, sport is either competitive or combat competitive, right?
yeah, yeah,
So because everybody thinks everything is what's on the TV, which is competitive sport, I think that's where the misconception is. And they don't come to us for fighting because they think karate isn't good for fighting either. So it's really hard as a dojo that's trying to promote real karate amidst the Mick dojos and the people that hand out belts left and right, that give things for nothing, that don't actually apply anything. And then they don't think we teach self-defense either, because they think we're teaching something completely else.
yeah.
Just so I think that's probably the biggest, like, misconnect, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. Like, it should be like automatic, like you're going to be teaching some kind of self-defense if you're going to a traditional martial arts school,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the system,
Yeah, yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Cool.
So I think that's it, as far as that goes.
Cool. And I think with this is a really good stopping point. And yeah, whenever you guys want, if Michael ever wants to get interview, whether especially like before or after, depending on what he's comfortable with, after a fighters rep event or something, like we could totally do
Well,
another
just
interview.
next time you see us there,
Yeah,
just hit him up and say,
yeah,
hey, Jerry, I'm a fight commentary, whatever, your information, just tell him, hey, and he's more than happy.
cool.
He's more than happy, I'm pretty sure, Um, and other than that, I mean, thank you for the opportunity too. Like this, getting out there is also important. I think people need to be able to represent themselves comfortably and in an interview structure, and be able to express, whatever it is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I
exactly.
really I appreciate the opportunity. There's so much to say. There's so people have told me you should write a book, and I'm like, yeah, I just I'm there's so many things I could talk about, just specific topics, So I tried to nail everything in this interview, kind of almost, but
Yeah.
there's specific topics I could talk about for days
Yeah, yeah,
that
I
are
totally
important.
understand. I mean,
So
I could totally if I have another person I'm gonna interview at 5, so I know we can totally talk for 3 hours if we really
yeah,
want to. So
yeah,
yeah, totally. So yeah, more interviews to come, guys, and more footage of Michael and Joseph. Any other karatekas in your gym who want to get featured, just send them my way. I'm totally down to feature more karate, and it seems like it's the karate and the kung fu that do the best on my channel, obviously, because those were my first stuff that I trained when I was a kid. So yeah, obviously, people can see me speak with the most kind of dedication's the wrong word, but the most history with that. I've had ups and
yeah,
downs with both. So
yeah. Well, it's just natural. That's a natural
yeah,
process.
yeah.
And just so I can close out too, if anybody's interested, our Instagram is Claycomb Karate, plain and simple. That's our website too, and our Facebook. Type in Claycomb Karate. Um, Michael is Michael Claycomb, so Michael Claycomb. We put the .cja at the end of our Instagrams because that associates us with Claycomb Karate Academy. So
Mm-hmm.
Michael Claycomb.cja, Joseph Claycomb.cja, but Claycomb Karate, generally speaking. And then of course, Sugar Bomb. That's the name that he goes by, and that's his nickname that he was given. So everybody knows that from Fighters Rep, talking about Sugar Bomb, Sugar Bomb, Sugar Bomb. So more to come from him too. So hit him up, and he'll be more than happy to do something with you. I'm pretty sure.
Definitely. And for those of you watching, basically a lot of these concepts that Joseph gave to us, I'll put them in the description. So if you want to Google search themselves, you can go do your own research. And of course, his YouTube channel will always be linked in the description. So yeah, lots to explore. Again, there's so many great little knowledge bombs that Joseph dropped.